Our next experience lab brings us to Ingolstadt, Germany, where we'll begin our reading of Mary Shelley's famous novel, Frankenstein. We'll be visiting the very room where Frankenstein became a monster. You may think you know Frankenstein, but what if I told you he is actually a college science student and he may just be the true monster of this story? When reading, we tend to discover thematic topics along the way, but this book's full title, Frankenstein, or the Modern Prometheus, signals a major theme right from the beginning. You may remember Prometheus from Greek mythology. He created the first humans and even stole fire from the gods to help them out, but he was punished eternally for this sacrifice. I wonder what it could mean that Victor Frankenstein, the creator in this story, is the modern version of Prometheus. One thing I know for sure is that the theme of creation and responsibility is going to be a big deal. When reading a longer text, our understanding of the theme is provisional. We piece it together as we go. While we can't write official thematic statements until we see how everything plays out in the end, we can analyze the scenes as we go and think about how they're contributing to the theme's development. And that brings us to today's mission. We'll use the 4T framework to analyze how a specific scene in Frankenstein contributes to the theme of creation and responsibility and draft truisms that reflect our ongoing analysis. Let's head inside to see the lab where Frankenstein's creature was born. Ooh, creepy. This really does give mad scientist vibes. Let's read about the moment when our mad scientist, Victor Frankenstein, brings his creature to life. As we read this passage, follow the trail of meaning from beginning to end. It was on a dreary night of November that I beheld the accomplishment of my toils. With an anxiety that almost amounted to agony, I collected the instruments of life around me, that I might infuse a spark of being into the lifeless thing that lay at my feet. It was already 1 in the morning. The rain pattered dismally against the panes, and my candle was nearly burnt out, when, by the glimmer of the half-extinguished light, I saw the dull yellow eye of the creature open. It breathed hard, and a convulsive motion agitated its limbs. The different accidents of life are not so changeable as the feelings of human nature. I had worked hard for nearly 2 years for the sole purpose of infusing life into an inanimate body. For this, I had deprived myself of rest and health. I had desired it with an ardor that far exceeded moderation, but now that I had finished, the beauty of the dream vanished, and breathless horror and disgust filled my heart. Let's break this down. In the first part, Victor describes the build-up to this moment. He gathers his tools with extreme anxiety, ready to give life to the lifeless body he's assembled. That's the trail so far. Now it's your turn. Look at the next part. Pause and summarize the trail of meaning in your own words. One way to put it might be, Victor finally sees his creature come to life, but the moment is eerie and unsettling. Let's keep going. In the next part, Victor explains how hard he worked, even sacrificing his own health to bring the creature to life. That's the next step on the trail. Now it's your turn again. Look at the final part. Pause and summarize this section in your own words. Here's one way we could describe it. The dream he worked towards so passionately is shattered the instant it becomes real, leaving him horrified by his own creation. Put together, the trail of meaning in this passage shows the buildup of Victor's anticipation, the strange first moments of his creature's life, the sacrifices Victor made, and the crushing horror when his vision finally comes true. Now, to think about how this trail connects to a theme, we need a topic to focus on. And thanks to the title's mention of Frankenstein as a modern Prometheus, We already know a big thematic topic is creation and responsibility. Now we can uncover some truisms about this topic. So let's ask, what does this passage seem to be saying about Victor as a creator? Start with this question. How did Victor's feelings about his creation change once it came to life? What does this reveal about the gap between dreams and the reality of what we create? Pause and note your thinking. Victor's feelings flipped completely from excitement and anticipation to horror and disgust. That shift shows us a truism about creation. Pouring time and sacrifice into creating something does not guarantee we will welcome the result. This works for Victor's act of creating life, but it could also apply to other things people create. Like creating content for social media that takes on a life of its own, composing a song that doesn't quite come out how you'd hoped, or writing a story or poem that is misunderstood by audiences. So this truism works for the specific scene of Frankenstein, but also connects to bigger truths about the experience of being human. Now let's push further. Even though Victor felt horror and disgust, he's basically this creature's father. What responsibilities might he still have toward his creature and why? Pause and note your thinking. I'm thinking that Victor's the one who gave the creature life, so even if he doesn't like what he created, the responsibility doesn't just go away. He's still going to need someone to care for him and teach him how to survive in the world. So now it's your turn to write a truism. Think of a truth about creation and responsibility that is suggested by this scene. Pause the video and give it a try. One possibility might be a creator is responsible for what they create, even if reality fails to match their vision. But remember, these truisms are provisional. Depending on how the story goes, they might shift and evolve. Let's think through some possibilities. What if Victor embraces this creature, even though he finds it disgusting and horrifying, and gives it a safe and happy life that enriches them both? Pause and write a truism based on this outcome. Here are a couple of ways you might phrase it. Taking responsibility for what we create can benefit both ourselves and our creations. Or, caring for what we create can transform fear into growth. But what if Victor abandons this creature and leaves it to fend for itself in the world while he has to live in fear of its revenge? Pause and write a truism based on this outcome. Here are a couple possibilities. When we abandon our creations, we risk harming them and ourselves. Or, neglecting what we create can lead to consequences beyond our control. Knowing the topic to watch out for, creation and responsibility, will help you reflect on truisms as you follow the trail of meaning throughout the novel. You'll adjust them as you go, and eventually you'll be able to describe what the whole story has to say about this theme in a thematic statement. But first, we need to find out what brought Victor to this moment of creation. I mean, what kind of childhood and upbringing might lead someone to think they can play God and harness the power of creation for themselves? In your lesson materials, you'll find out how this story begins and what leads to that dreary night in November when the creature opens its eyes. Keep the topic of creation and responsibility in your mind as you read and see what truths you can uncover along the way. Hey, hey.